Your voice, your opinion, your community. Fact TV, free speech, protected.
You want to make jokes here, but didn't with on I Spit on Your Grave?
Yes.
The only difference in the assault is it was a guy in this one. Isn't that hypocritical?
It is.
Okay. Can you squeal like a pig?
Nope.
All this and more on Gory Story Time.
Warning. Gory Storytime is a horror movie review show by a son and his dad who thought that letting his 5-year-old watch scary movies was acceptable. If you are offended by horror or talk about blood and gore by a child, or if you don't want horror movies from the 60s through today spoiled, then there is a remote stuck in your couch cushion next to potato chip crumbs. Use it. And of course, parental discretion is advised.
Why? You didn't use any.
Shut up and start the show.
Welcome to Gory Story Time. I'm your host, Jason.
And I'm his co-host and his father, Craig. And this week we're doing a movie that a lot of people are going to say, wait a minute, I've heard of Deliverance or I've seen Deliverance. That's not a horror movie. Well, if you're a guy...
And to that I parry, you're wrong.
Correct. Here's the deal. We recently did I Spit on Your Grave. Go back a couple episodes and watch that if you want. And this is very similar, except it's happening to guys. And it's very weird to me that for some reason, because it happens to a guy, the assault that happens...
Suddenly it's not a horror movie? It's an action, adventure, crime drama?
But to be fair, in its description, they were like, in the terror-filled woods, and it's like, correct.
Right.
Correct.
It's like, if Wrong Turn and I Spit on Your Grave are a horror movie, then so is this.
Yeah.
This is
or
just those
The Strangers.
Two. The Strangers a little.
You know, anything where people come into your, like take you against your will in a violent way. Like, just because it's real and it's not supernatural doesn't mean it can't be horror. And I saw this movie when I was 10. Aren't you glad you were 23 before you saw it?
Public service announcement. Don't let your 10-year-olds watch Deliverance.
He's got a point. All right. So here's the premise for those who don't know. 4 men go down south to go whitewater rafting, basically.
Oh, yeah.
They want to go, you know, through the rocks and stuff and just enjoy nature. And part way, a couple of them end up caught by some, what's a nice
mountain
way to put
folk.
this? Yeah, mountain folk. I was going to say, you know, incest-loving hillbillies, but sure, if you want to, if you want to say it in an offensive way,
yeah, that
decided to assault both of them, but they only got to assault one. I'm not going to get into how that stops. And then the rest of the movie is the 4 men trying to get out of the area and stop being pursued by said mountain folk.
Yeah.
That's a good way to put it without spoiling anything. Because anyone that's heard of this movie has heard that there was the assault.
Yeah. Unfortunately, you
and
know that going in.
If you don't know the song Dueling Banjos before you begin watching, you will certainly know it when you're done.
It will be your favorite song after this movie is over.
That, but it will certainly be something you have heard 11 times?
A couple dozen times, yeah.
Anyway, anything else I should say about it?
I mean,
again, I'm not trying to
know
spoil
about
much.
this movie, all right? Much as I probably knew.
I mean, you now know, because the 2 things you knew was the song and the assault.
Yeah.
All right. So to show you what we're talking about, let's roll the trailer.
Where are you going, city boy?
We'll find it.
It ain't nothing but the biggest river in the state.
These are the men. Nothing very unusual about them. Suburban guys like you or your neighbor. Nothing very unusual about them until they decided to spend one weekend canoeing down the Cotahuasi River. Ed Gentry, he runs an art service. Wife Martha has a boy, Dee. Lewis Medlock has real estate interests, talks about resettling in New Zealand or Uruguay. Drew Ballinger, he's sales supervisor for a soft drink company. Bobby Tripp, bachelor, insurance and mutual funds.
Where you going? All right, I'm looking.
These are the men who decided not to play golf that weekend. Instead, they sought the river.
Would you like to jack it off?
You look around, you Lewis. He could be out there anywhere, watching us right now. We ain't gonna be so nice, not hard to follow, dragging a corpse.
Lewis, I'm gonna pull off to the side. There's something wrong. No, go on!
John Boorman's film of James Dickey's explosive best-selling novel.
Well, all right.
Wow. If I had watched that trailer, I would have then known everything about it.
Well, almost. But, yeah, so that is one of the least exciting trailers for an actually exciting movie I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Somehow
definitely.
they
just, really stretched it out. They were like, we've got 70 minutes of movie. We could put most of it in the trailer.
Yeah. Anyway, so is there anything else we're going to say before we get into
Try to watch it. I couldn't find it. I couldn't find it online on any of what I've got, but I believe that it was somewhere.
Right.
If you've got that, watch it there. If you own it, watch it there.
Yeah.
But you don't go into it blind. It's difficult for me to say that, but it's also with the topic of this movie. Definitely, you're gonna want the heads up.
Yeah, but then again, well, we'll get into
that.
Now, for why we're really here. To make money. And how do we do that when we're posting this stuff for free on the internet and on a website for our local TV station? And, community television doesn't pay you. It's by selling ourselves to commercials. These are real companies that actually exist that send us large amounts of money to pimp out their products as if we actually know if they're any good.
Right.
And this week, our large foam check came to sell you these wonderful things. Gory Storytime is brought to you by Hollywood Double Standards. We teach you the unofficial rules of what's okay and what isn't in Hollywood. Character goes undercover as another race? That's fine if you're Eddie Murphy or a Wayans brother, but not for Robert Downey Jr. Want great critical reviews for a movie with sexual assault? That better be a guy on the receiving end. Want to change a well-known character? Okay, but only if you make that person part of a marginalized group. And of course, never let a group of friends be all one race, sexuality, or gender if that group is cis white straight men. If it's anything else, that's fine. Hollywood Double Standards, because without double standards, we wouldn't have standards.
Classic. All right. Hollywood up to it again. And by Lonnie's House of Unpopular Instruments. Do you want to learn an instrument that is just as hard to play as a popular one and still can be considered lame? Then come on down to Lonnie's House of Unpopular Instruments. We've all got the instruments that will make you less likely to get a date. You tell us...
Not we've all got. We've got all.
That. We've got all... Yeah, okay. Less likely to get a date. You tell us the vibe you want to give off, and we match you with an instrument that will help you live that life. Want to be loud? Try a tuba. Loud and annoying? Bagpipes it is. And how about something that takes skill but makes you seem like an inbred hillbilly? We got fiddles and banjos. Lonnie's House of Unpopular Instruments, because not all musicians are going to get laid.
All right.
Okay, yeah. That was a tough one.
Now for the behind-the-scenes information of the flick, or as he likes to call it, the meat and beef of the show.
Or as I like to call it, the meat and beef of the show.
You want me to go first?
The other white meat?
Don't do that. While filming the whitewater canoeing scene, Ned Beauty was thrown overboard and sucked under by a whirlpool. A production assistant dove in to save him, but he didn't surface for 30 seconds. Beauty said after the incident, "I thought I was going to drown. And my first thought was, how will Jon finish the film without me? My second thought was, I bet the bastard will find a way."
Wow. Yikes. To minimize costs, the production wasn't insured, and the actors did their own stunts. Jon Voight climbed the cliff.
I mean, and you could tell that they did their own stunts watching this movie. Burt Reynolds broke his coccyx while going down the rapids when the canoe capsized. Originally, they used a cloth dummy, but it looked too fake, like a dummy going over a waterfall. After the incident, where he actually got hurt, Reynolds asked the director, Sir John Boorman, "So, how did it look?" And he said, "Honestly, like a dummy falling over a waterfall," which is unfortunate because that was about him.
That's what the shot they already got was. Dueling Banjos was the first scene shot. The rest of the movie was almost entirely shot in sequence.
According to the director, Sir John Boorman, the gas station attendant's dance during Dueling Banjos was unscripted and spontaneous.
Well, this is the movie Burt Reynolds appeared in instead of The Godfather. He was being considered for the part of Michael Corleone, but Brando said that if Burt Reynolds is in my movie, I will quit.
Ouch.
Wow.
Yep. To save costs and add realism, local residents were cast in the role of hill people.
Much of the film had to have its color desaturated because the river looked too pretty.
Which makes sense. And they had to make it look dark and grim. Billy Redden didn't know how to play the banjo. To simulate realistic chord playing, another boy, a skilled banjo player, played the chords with his arm reaching around Redden's side while he picked. Musicians Eric Weisberg and Steve Mandel played for the soundtrack.
Following the film, tourism increased to Rabun County by tens of thousands. By 2012, tourism was the largest source of revenue in the county. Jon Voight's stunt double for this film, Claude Terry, founded what is now the oldest whitewater rafting adventure company on the Chattahoochee River, Southeastern Expeditions. By 2012, rafting had developed a $20 million industry in the region.
Burt Reynolds, this was his breakthrough role, transforming him from a TV/B-movie actor to a film superstar. Without this, no Smokey and the Bandit, which you still haven't seen. That won't be on
even
here.
though the character was very clumsy and uncoordinated, Ned Beauty was the only one of the four main actors with any experience in a canoe prior to shooting.
Much of the dialogue was taken almost verbatim, word for word, from the novel.
Whoa.
Yeah.
The cliff climbing scene was shot during the day and underexposed with a bluish tint added in post-production day for night. Day for night shooting was common until the late 70s because of the slow film stocks and anamorphic lenses that didn't let in as much light as spherical lenses requiring a lot of lights.
Billy Redden, the boy with the banjo, like Ronnie Cox, liked Ronnie Cox, but hated Ned Beatty. At the end of the dueling banjos scene, the script called for Billy to give a hard expression to Cox, but Billy couldn't pretend to hate him. To solve the problem, they got Beatty to step towards Billy at the end of the shot. As Beatty came closer, Billy hardened his expression and looked away.
Wow. During the filming of the canoe scene, author James Dickey showed up drunk and argued with Sir John Boorman, who had rewritten Dickey's script. They had a brief fistfight in which Boorman's nose was broken and 4 of his teeth shattered. Dickey was thrown off the set, but no charges were filed against him. The two reconciled and became good friends, and Boorman gave Dickey a cameo role as the sheriff at the end of the film.
So the sheriff at the end was actually the writer of the novel.
So I looked it up, and it was like, he's not an actor. Why are you looking him up for a movie? It was this.
Yep. When Sir John Boorman first tapped Jon Voight to appear in the film, the actor was at a low point. His previous film, The All-American Boy, was considered an unsalvageable mess. Convinced his career was over, Voight has said Boorman saved his life and then spent the next few months trying to kill him.
Wow.
Hey, you saw the stunts that they had.
Yeah.
Like they had. One of them said they had a stunt double. Yeah, well, they didn't use them much.
Ned Beatty's film debut. His voice laughing is the first human sound on the soundtrack.
Like in the audio, the first human sound.
Oh.
Jack Nicholson was going to play Ed as long as Marlon Brando played Lewis. But those actors' combined fees were more than $1 million, which was half of the movie's entire budget, forcing Sir John Boorman to cast cheaper actors.
Well, the movie doesn't explain the title, but the book states that what the city boys are trying to find in the backwoods is deliverance from the stress of modern life. But they basically hint at that 1,000 times in the movie.
Well, without saying
those words exactly.
Without using the term deliverance, they definitely say we got to be out here and men being men, that kind of thing. Now, as we like to tell you about Rotten Tomatoes, the way it's supposed to work is they take all the critics' scores of the movie, positive and negative, and they tell you what percent are positive. That's the number. Then they have a thing where people can vote, or not vote, but review online. Right. And again, they do the same thing, positive or negative, and give you the percentage. Now, if you remember, when the victim was a girl, it was in the 30s and 40s.
Yeah, right.
2 episodes ago. But for this one, the critics have it at
89%.
And the people have it at 82%, making it
fresh on both accounts.
Yeah, very fresh, very damn good movie, according to them and to us. But we'll get to there. All right. Now, because we liked it, what was your least favorite scene or thing about the movie?
All right. So, content warning, as we've said, but they, the whole thing in this movie, the sexual assault that happens to Ned Beatty, everybody knows. Going into this movie, nobody didn't know about that.
When it was first released, probably not, but that was 72.
Ever since 72, you know basically what this movie is about. You know what happens, you know the inciting incident, and it feels like a spoiler.
It's kind of like even people that never saw Star Wars, they know that Luke's father is Vader.
Right. It's that big of a piece of the story in this movie. And I feel like I would have had a better viewing experience if I did not know about that at all.
To let it shock you more?
Because, it feels like knowing beforehand, even though I knew beforehand with Spit on Your Grave, it feels different where knowing beforehand lessened the sting.
I will say my least favorite thing is probably the fact that they don't label it horror. Because for the reasons we already gave, if I Spit on Your Grave, if House at the End, or what was it?
Last House on the Left.
Last House on the Left. There's so many of these movies. If those count, then this counts.
Yeah, it does.
Just because it happens to a dude does not make it less horrific.
1000%.
What was your favorite scene?
Well, spoiler alert. So, when 2 of the guys in this 4-person group thing get lost, they pull off to the side and they get held at gunpoint by 2 mountain people.
Yes.
Burt Reynolds catches the second of the two guys trying to
Post-assault
first
first.
time and attempting on the second guy, and Burt Reynolds shoots him dead with an arrow.
And it's a pretty badass shot.
Very, very dead. Very shot with an arrow.
Very realistic looking.
So good. Mm-hmm. And, you know, like it was the favorite thing in the other movie, it only makes sense to me that it would be my favorite thing in this, when the bad guy died.
I mean, so yeah. Yeah, I mean, and there was a couple of those, but we'll, you know, not spoil them both. Also, for me, I'm going to say my favorite part is the acting. The biggest thing we had against I Spit on Your Grave was it wasn't great acting. These guys really, like, there was a bar that they set, I mean, like, it was just beyond basic horror movie acting. You know what I mean?
By a lot.
But I still consider it a horror movie. So I would say my favorite part is just the skill of the actors, including the extras, including the "Do you squeal like a pig" guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, to be fair, like
everybody was in on it.
Like the hillbilly playing the banjo kid, you know, that he did it great.
It was all great.
So, on a scale of 1 to 10,
I'm gonna
1 being starring in Deliverance in real life, 10 being watching Deliverance. No,
well,
no, it can't quite go that way.
Not quite. A 9 though.
Like, yeah, I mean, this is a solid. I'm gonna say 8.5, because the other 1.5 is because it's really hard to watch. It scarred me as a 10-year-old, man.
Wow.
Like, I didn't know that people did that to other people. I didn't know it happened to women, men, anybody. Like, before.
You were 10, you were young, you didn't need to know.
Like, I was told that something happened like that, but I didn't know what that meant until I witnessed it. And then it's like, oh,
right.
That's something adults can do? So luckily, I never had to live a life where I knew that ahead of time.
And
It's
he probably had a better
awful.
viewing pleasure of the movie.
No. That's a weird way to put it.
Yeah, no.
All right. Anything else you want to say before we...
I mean, we've done spoiled it for you more. Watch it.
Definitely watch
Otherwise,
it. If you haven't watched this, like, there's a reason why it's rated so high by everybody
it's a classic,
across the board.
100%. But yeah. So now with the stuff that we do with the things on the sides. Yes, you can go to Fact TV channel 1082 on Thursdays at 8:30 p.m. and Fridays at 7 p.m.
You can like us on Facebook, and like I say every week, liking us is liking the Gory Story page, and please give a like to Fact TV if you haven't.
Definitely. You can go to fact8.com, watch a bunch of the back episodes of this, as well as many other shows. Just so much stuff on the websites.
And then you could follow us on X. I'm at Craig Jakes, all one word, all lowercase.
And I'm at Jiggly Fernbrain. I only tweet things that he says that I find funny, in or out of context, usually out.
And neither of us really tweets about the show. It's just...
That's the case.
And then, you know, go to Gory Storytime on YouTube. Just type it in. The 2 pages or channels that'll come up is Fact TV and mine. Give them both a like. Subscribe to both, you know, because they put out way more content than just this show. But I'd also like some views on my channel.
Yes.
And so that's it, right?
Yeah. So until next time, I have been your host, Jason.
I'm his co-host and father, Craig.
And sweet dreams.